While a lot of what used to happen in our daily lives has shifted online, like school, dinner parties, and even live music, just about all our professional sports are on hold. Now, some are looking for creative ways to return. So since you obviously can't play baseball on Zoom, MLB has been tossing around another option: move the entire league to Arizona. Of course, there would be rules. Everyone would have to be screened for COVID-19. Then they'd be sequestered in hotels and only allowed to travel to and from nearby stadiums, which would be otherwise empty. I'm joined now by sports agent Stephen Freyer. Welcome, Steve.
Hi, Emily.
So great to connect with you again after all these years. See a great friend, comforting moment.
It's been a while.
How feasible is this idea? I mean, everybody wants to get baseball going. MLB, of course. I mean, it's a huge franchise. It's an economic boon, and it's a soul-lifting episode for all of us. But how feasible is it?
I was really excited when they started kicking around the idea, but then you start looking at the issues, and this is a classic example of the devil being in the details. The overlaying devil being the fact that the Major League Baseball Players Association and Major League Baseball really don't like one another. And for them to iron out a lot of details on simple things is very difficult. But the problem with Arizona, they do have 10 ballparks out there, plus a dome. So they have 11 ballparks. The problem is, among other things, it's extremely hot in June, July, and August. It would be very, very difficult, very challenging to play games during the daytime. Even in the evening, it would be very difficult. If you're playing in the evening, there goes the East Coast TV.
Right.
More importantly, is the number of people you're involved. It sounds kind of, well, we've got 26 players and a couple of coaches and so forth. But really, when you think about it, each team probably has at least 75 people. That's a lot of people. And when one of them gets diagnosed, or if one of them gets diagnosed, what do you do about that?
Yeah, and how about practical things like, are you going to have a dugout? What about the ball? Is everybody going to have their own ball? I mean, you can't. I mean, I know there's a mitt, but usually there's a bare hand involved too, right?
Well, talk about social distancing. You have an umpire and a batter and a catcher right next to each other. Now, they're saying that they could have an electronic strike zone, so that may take care of that issue. But you're right. They're bunched together in the dugouts, and you have coaches, you have trainers, you have all kinds of support people around, and then you have the broadcast people in the stadium, and the numbers mount up. And I think the players do have a legitimate point when they talk about being separated from their families for 3 or 4 months.
Yeah, and also we're talking about playing games with no fans. Do you think that's a possibility? Even let's say they get back to some kind of a normal schedule and they're actually rotating around the country. Are fans going to go to the parks?
That gets back to what is normal and when are we going to get back to normal? What's normal going to look like? No one's really been able to describe that yet. So playing in front of no fans out in Arizona isn't a big deal for the players because they were used to it when they were playing in the minor leagues. So that's kind of a non-issue.
What about the other sports? Is the NBA over, the NHL over? There won't be a Stanley Cup. It just won't happen.
I can't imagine how it would happen. I think the National Basketball Association is talking about putting on mini games of some sort. But that's not real basketball. That doesn't get back into the season. I think with hockey, you've got a huge problem with the availability of the arenas, with the ice during the summers. There's all kinds of factors involved. It's not easy.
Going back to baseball for a minute, I brought up this notion that I know Donald Trump wants everything to be the way it was and back to normal, and let's jumpstart the economy. Baseball is one of those things that, I mean, it's very Americana. It's one of those things that people look forward to all summer long. As I said, it's an economic engine. I mean, it's got to get going in some way or other, even if it's not this Arizona situation. It does have to start somehow, someplace, somewhere.
I would hope so. And I've always been kind of thinking that maybe we get back to some semblance of normalcy toward the end of June or early July. And maybe you start with empty ballparks at that point. But you still have to make sure the virus is under control.
And they certainly don't have to play 162 games, right?
Oh, Lord, no. They could easily play 90 or 100 games and have it be very much of a valid season.
Who does this favor? I mean, is there, the teams can't practice? I mean, there's people who knows if they're staying in shape. I mean, what does this look like for the athlete involved?
Well, that brings up the issue of spring training. How do they get in a condition before they even begin playing? Now, most position players could probably get in game shape within a week or so if they've been taking care of themselves. But pitchers really need 3 weeks to get their arms ready, to get their bodies ready for it. So you have to tack that on top of the issue of beginning the game. So you've got 3 weeks leading up to it, and that stretches out the waiting time. You're right. Baseball is part of the cultural fabric of America, and we miss it, and we need it.
We do miss it. This would have been a good week for it. We need it.
For sure. For sure.
Stephen Freyer, it's always a pleasure to have you on.
Thanks, Emily. It's good to see you.